Hello friends, welcome to Soulful Spinning. This is a channel about knitting, spinning, and all the fiber arts. My name is Lisa and I'm coming to you from the Midwest, just outside of Chicago. Today is the 31st of May, 2024, and I'm here to give you an update on some of my knitting and spinning projects. I hope this finds you well. I hope your season is going well. Mine's going pretty well. We've got our garden in and we are ready for the warm weather. I actually pulled out a garment that I made for the warm weather just this afternoon. This is a linen cardigan made, it's made out of Quince & Company Kestrel. It's a worsted weight yarn, and the pattern is called Quicksand by Heidi Kermeyer. And I really don't wear it that often. It's one of these open front cardigans with no buttons. And it's a bit long on me. The linen it kind of drags down quite a bit. I thought maybe I could make it a little bit shorter to make it a little bit more wearable, but I thought I would just put on today because my big project I'm going to talk about today is another cardigan. So since I last spoke to you about 2 weeks ago, I have been hard at work on this. So this is my Mabel cardigan by Isabel Kramer. She's a wonderful designer. It's knit out of Durarum Natura Ulisse. It's a sport weight yarn. I'm knitting it on a 3.25 millimeter needle, which is a US 3. And I am finally done with the body. I'm going to try it on for you. It's got a similar fit to this one that I'm wearing here. So I'll show you how it's fitting so far. I just cast this off yesterday after an interminable 1x1 rib. So I'm knitting the third size, and it's got this beautiful shoulder detail. It's all knit in one piece. It's a contiguous sleeve construction, and it's got a pretty stitch pattern. It kind of looks like a cable running up the sides. And then also it mirrors that along under the arm here. So let me see if I can move back a little bit and you can see more of it. So so it comes about here, right in the middle of my hip, and it's again, it's an open front cardigan. I think hopefully it's going to block out just a little bit bigger, because it's definitely fitted, a fitted garment. I was here last time I spoke with you a couple weeks ago. I was right here. I could put a stitch marker. So I knit all of this, did the ribbing. I just did a regular standard bind off in pattern. And so now all I have to do is knit the sleeves. So I ran into a little snafu. Another knitter on Ravelry made this sweater, and she made it, I think, a couple sizes bigger than I did. And she only used 7 balls of this yarn. So I figured 7 should be enough to make a size 3. But as you can see, I'm ready to do the sleeves, and all I have left are 2 balls and this little bit of extra. So here's the yarn. So it's Lure Blue, 100% wool. I think it's a blend of Portuguese and French merino. It's very, very soft, very velvety hand. It's woolen spun, so it holds a lot of air, and it's very, very light. So I have only 2 balls, and I was reading that your sleeves take about 30% of your total yarn. So I'm a little worried that I'm going to run out. So I think I'm going to place an order for just a couple extra. And if I have extra, I'm thinking of making a hat. There's a couple of berets that I have in my Ravelry library. There's one by, what is her name now? I forget her name. The same, Iri Shimizu, has a real cute beret pattern. And I thought I would enter that into Isabel's matchy Cal that she's got going on in her channel. So I'll put her link down below, her YouTube channel and her Ravelry group. So she's doing a year-long knit along where you knit something that matches. So often, you often have extra yarn left over from your project. So I'm going to make a hat to go with this cardigan. So yeah, I'm really very happy with it. I've been really monogamous, and it's been really hard. But I'm trying to have better follow-through on a lot of my projects. So, all right, so that's really all the knitting I've been working on. I've knit a few rows on my shawl here. So I've knit a couple of rows on this pattern. This is the Yohira shawl by same designer, Eri Shimizu. So I think I'm going to knitting this for a friend. And yeah, so it's kind of like an in-between project. So now I have to pick up all my sleeve stitches and knit the sleeves. And I have long arms too, so I think getting a couple extra balls of yarn is probably a good idea. All right, so last week I showed you what I considered an epic fail. I showed this jumper that I made from Icelandic wool. It's the Skogafjall jumper. I think it's by Diana Walla. And I tried it on, and I got so many, I got a lot of good feedback, lots of suggestions on how I might salvage this garment. It's quite large. That's the issue. It's quite large, quite long. And so before I take it apart, which I really do not want to do because it's this sticky Icelandic wool, I'm going to take the suggestion of several of my viewers who told me that I should reknit the neck. The neck is quite open and gapy, and so I'm going to undo the cast off here, and I think I'm going to rip it back to where I picked up the stitches. And I believe I went down 2 needle sizes for the neck. I think I went down to a US 6 or a 4mm needle. So I'm going to do it again, but I'm going to do some more rapid decreases and create sort of a funnel neck for the garment so that it would raise it up a little bit. And as somebody said, this would be great over a turtleneck in the fall when you're walking your dog. So I'm going to try to salvage it. It might be cute with a pair of leggings, black leggings, or before I take it apart. So it's kind of in a I'm thinking about it pile. Spring now, it's quite warm, so. But I did find my leftovers just this afternoon. And thanks again, everybody, for your feedback and your suggestions regarding this, this sweater of mine. I really appreciate all your feedback. Speaking of, last time I spoke with you, I mentioned that we've revived our Ravelry group. So the Ravelry group is Soulful Spinners, and since the last I recorded, we're up 100 members. I think we have 650 about members. So it's a small group. We're running a very informal Tour de Fleece, which is a massive spin along where knitters spin along with the riders of the Tour de France. And so we've got a thread there going, and yeah, we're just having a nice companionable chat over there. Tell us what you're working on. If you want to just join us for an informal spin along, we'd love to have you. And I'll link that in the description below this video. else have I been working on? So last time I recorded, I was plying up a sweater spin. I've got about 50% of my of a sweater spin spun up, and I'll show you what the skeins are looking like here. So these are 3 hanks of Black Welsh Mountain that I plied up on my e-spinner. And I purchased 600 grams of this fiber for a sweater I want to make. I want to make this sweater, another Isabel Kramer pattern, Callias sweater. So I've got these 3 hanks so far, and I've got lots more to spin. So I'm hoping this afternoon I can get back on my wheel. I've saved the control card, so I'll just keep spinning it along, and hopefully I'll have this. I would like to get this all spun up before the spin along, so I can sort of have a clear bobbins on my wheel. So I've got, as usual, I have spindles and all kinds of stuff over here. All right, so here is my my swatch for that garment. As you can see, it's got this slip stitch ribbing. And as I'm spinning, I'm winding off the bobbins onto these temporary bobbins, and then just sort of randomly mixing up the bobbins as I do a 2-ply. So that is going along pretty well. And I'm excited about a hand-spun cardigan, which I haven't made yet. So that's what's been going on with my wheel spinning. Those are future customers, because you know what? That's how many people, people start spinning and they got the comb top and everything, and then they get real wool, real wool, minimally processed, and then they put their hands in a fleece. Oh yeah. And then they're goners. So last time I was speaking with you, I mentioned that I was going to a small fiber event in my area. It was the Ileana Fiber Festival, and it was a very small festival in Crown Point, Indiana. And my husband and I took a drive over there. And I came away with 2 treasures. It wasn't a really fiber-oriented festival. It was more a lot of hand-dyed yarn, and people were selling project bags, etc. But I saw this lady sitting there, and her and her partner, and she was spinning on a spindle that looks just like this. So this is a Blackfoot spindle, and this one's got a really neat little design, a spiral design, and it's an in-hand spindle. I have some footage of here. I think the lady's name was Judy or Judith, and she gave me permission to film her a little bit, and she explains a little bit of the traditions with the Blackfoot Nation and their spinning. And they did all this in hand spinning. And I have tried, I've tried to do it with very little success. But it's essentially an off the tip kind of spinning that you do completely in hand. And of course, she was holding the spindle in her right hand and twirling. So I just thought this was really cool. Of course, I went home and I started spinning it like this, using it as a support spindle, which I think you could totally do. So I found a couple of articles about this tradition, and I will link them below if you're interested. But yeah, I thought that was really it's a very sort of rustic spindle. And she also had some beautiful fiber. And of course, I couldn't walk away without some fiber. And this is what I bought. So they're 4 ounces each. And I couldn't believe it when I read the tag. This is Navajo Churro wool. And it's surprisingly soft. So Navajo Churro is not known for its softness. It's a primitive breed, and it's used for weaving mostly. But well, I'll let her tell the story. She has a small flock, and it's part of a conservation effort to maintain the breed. And I'll give you a little information about Navajo Churro here in just a second. But it's surprisingly soft. So I bought a gray and I bought a white. And I think I'm going to spin these into a thick single and make probably a hat and a mitten set if I have enough. It's 8 ounces. She said it was from the body of the animal, so I think the Navajo Churro have a wide variety of fibers on them, as a lot of the primitive breeds do. Let me see if I have her tag here. Yeah, here it is. Her name is Judy Meyerhofer, and I'll put her information below. And that was really the highlight of the whole festival, is chatting with her and learning about a little bit about the traditions of the Blackfoot spinning. She learned at the knee of her grandmother, and it was a really, really lovely story. So I'll insert some video here of her telling the story, and I'll be back in just a second to talk a little bit more about Navajo Churro. I want to watch her spin now. Do you mind if I won't film you a little bit?
Yeah, this is the Blackfoot spinning. My grandmother was Blackfoot. This is how I was taught.
Yeah, I want to watch. And look how much yarn you've already.
It's very portable. They used to do it walking and on horseback.
So you just do a half hitch.
I do a half hitch.
Yeah.
She did a wrap. She used to whop me in the back of the head for doing the half hitch. She said I was lazy. But if you drop it, the half hitch just catches.
Right. So is there a notch on the edge there, and then you?
He puts a notch here. That was his addition to it.
Yeah, just to
really
make.
nice.
You have to pick one up. Yeah, and then you just twirl, and then
Let
you
it
make.
fall off the hook, the tip. And then when you feel the twist hit your finger, you stop and draft.
Mm-hmm.
And then wrap it onto the, and when you feel the point.
Temporary cop, like a temporary. Yeah, so you're building up all the twists, park and draft, and then you're drafting it in.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. So I feel the twist hit my finger, I stop and draft, which gives you all the time in the world to draft, unlike a drop spindle, which you're worried about it to start.
Yeah, that's a great way. It's a great way for a new person to learn too.
I tell them, twist it till it hits your finger, now put it between your knees.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've got 2 hands to do your draft. And this is the way she taught me how to spin when I was a little girl. Now she was living in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and they spun buffalo, or American bison. She also was the town healer, or the village healer. And at a certain point, the Blackfoot were not able to stop the white man from killing off the buffalo. So they held a huge ceremony and they told all the women that they had to burn their spindles and burn their loom parts because they had not been able to stop the white man. My grandmother said no. She had other sources of fiber. She was not going to burn the spindle. If you go to Browning, Montana right now and talk about Blackfoot spinning, they will tell you the Blackfoot did not spin and did not weave. My grandmother said no. They told her that that Dutch man that had been following the tribe around and asking for her hand in marriage could have her. So she married him and moved down to southern Ohio with her spindles and her loom parts. Now the Blackfoot woman, when she has raised her children, she will look around for someone in her neighborhood or in her family that reminds her of herself. And she will take that girl or boy and she will teach that assistant everything that she does, everything she likes, what her belief systems are. And used to be when that person became accepted as an adult in the tribe, they would take her name. So the genealogical records are really a mess.
Yeah, I bet.
My grandma picked me. Of all the grandchildren, neighbors, I reminded her of her. And my father agreed. So she taught me. Now, the Blackfoot spinning is done in what's called a park and back, meaning that you get a spin on the yarn. When you feel the spin touch your finger, you stop and you draft the yarn out of the wool. Now with beginners, I have them hold it between their knees and then they've got two hands to do their drafting. They did this on horseback. They did this while they were walking. And then they used a frame loom to make blankets. Now buffalo wool, the undercoat, is totally non-allergenic. There is no one who is allergic to bison wool. And so they would wrap the babies in these blankets, and then they could put a skin around it or whatever they wanted, and the baby's tender skin would not react because of the buffalo wool. There's a few other people that were taught by their grandparents how to spin Blackfoot, but we're very few and far between. Now in Spin Out magazine, I think it's the 2016 issue. One of the students that I taught went and did an article. And if you look it up, Blackfoot Spinning, her name's Marilyn. And it's a really good article on how to spin.
So yeah, it was worth the trip just talking to her. So I ran over to my public library and I take this book out every now and then. It's Clara Park's Book of Wool, which was really my entry point in breed-specific yarn and also my spinning journey. I think when I started reading this book, I really took a deep dive into sheep breeds and everything wool. And I picked this up because she's got a nice little concise explanation of Navajo Churro. Let's see. She considers a dual purpose, page 74. This is a great book because it's got a lot of, it's got a quick blurb about a lot of different breeds, and then it's got patterns that are specific to certain types of fiber. So the Navajo Churro is a direct descendant of the Churra sheep brought to Mexico in 1494 by Spanish explorers. The Navajo Churro breed is a story of survival against nearly all odds, from a massive slaughter by the U.S. Army in 1863 to drought and government-imposed stock reductions in the 1930s. The sheep that thrived and evolved under Navajo care is now the Navajo Churro, and it differs only slightly from the early Churra. Hardy and adaptable, the Navajo Churro grows a dual-coated fleece with a long hair outer coat and a fine wool undercoat. And I feel like this does remind me quite a bit of Icelandic wool, and this reminds me of the fell, the undercoat of the Icelandic. They were bred to meet the both the meat and textile needs of the Navajo people, who focused on producing a strong, colorful, durable, and lustrous wool that would be ideal for weaving. Today's Navajo Churro fiber is still best suited for woven rugs, saddle blankets, bags, and rugged outerwear, but the finer grades of undercoat fibers also can be separated and spun woolen to produce warm, lofty, and relatively soft yarn for mid-range garments. While this fiber is primarily for hand weavers, there is a movement afoot to breed the animal for a softer, more knittable fiber. And I think that's what Judith has here. You could see it's a beautiful pin drafted roving, and it's actually quite soft.
1990s, the Navajo Churro was almost extinct. So they came up into Wisconsin and Indiana and Illinois, and they went to small family farms, and they offered to give you a ram and 3 ewes. And in 5 years, they would come back and get the offspring. They were trying to keep the gene pool diversified. So I accepted my ram and 3 ewes. Kept very good records on all of them. Born to do how much wool I got off of them. They came back with a semi, and now the Navajo Churro are no longer endangered. So I'm Blackfoot with Navajo.
It's great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my heavier spindle and start spinning this into a thick singles yarn. This is a spindle from Elizabeth Dailey from Greensleeve Spindles, and Elizabeth was absent for quite a while. I think she was open about it on Instagram. She had is dealing with some health concerns, but she is back producing spindles. And if you're interested in picking up a spindle by Elizabeth, I suggest you follow her either on Facebook or Instagram, where she posts spindles from time to time for sale. And this is one of her Molinar spindles. It's quite heavy, and one of the bigger ones that I have. I think this is Purple Heart. So yeah, in a little while I'll go ahead and do some spinning and show you how I'm going to spin this up. So yeah, I think this is going to be a beautiful, beautiful 2-color pair of mittens and or a hat. We'll see how much yardage I get. Enjoying our garden. You see him? He's laying right there. He's just chilling in the garden. So here's a picture. Hopefully, while I was reading that, I was inserting some pictures of these magnificent animals. So pretty cool. This book is out of print, and I can't even find it on the used bookstores, but it is available on Kindle, as I've been informed. So I don't really like reference books on Kindle, though, so I keep taking it out of my library in the hopes that they won't take it off the shelf permanently, because they have a habit of doing that at our library. If books don't get taken out, they take them off, and so I keep taking it out to know that it's in demand. Yeah. So yeah, the only other thing I purchased at the festival was some yarn for a pair of socks. It's yarn from Passion Yarns. This colorway is pistachio. As you can tell, it's a glazed green color with some speckles. It's merino cashmere nylon, color 103. And I bought 2 of her minis. This one's lavender, and this one's avocado. And this is going to be a pair of colorwork socks. I've been on the hunt for a set for these pair of socks. And the socks I'm going to knit are from this book, Charming Colorwork Socks by Charlotte Stone. And I'm going to make the blooming lavender socks. So I've been on the hunt for a set that would sort of closely mimic what she has here. And she has this real speckly yarn here, but I thought this light green and these 2 shades. So I'm going to go ahead, and I've been saving them in hank form so I could show you. And so I'm going to wind these up and get started on those socks because I think they're just really, really cute. I made another pair of her socks. I think I made the hot cocoa socks from Charlotte Stone, and she's just a really wonderful designer. It creates a lot of whimsical and fun patterns. So those were my 2 treasures from the festival. I've been carding up some fiber on my drum card. I made a little bat yesterday. Some really, really old fiber. I have some, I'll show it to you here. So it's like 9 years old already. And it's a Corriedale fleece from Whitefish Bay. And when I first scoured it, I didn't take out all the grease. And so I had to re-scour it, and look at the condition that it's in. It's completely lost its lock structure, but it's not felted. As a matter of fact, you can, if you're careful, you can identify some of the locks here. So they described it as a vanilla gray. So basically it's a light gray fleece, gray fibers throughout. And I always put a little tag. The sheep's name was Rosalie, and it was Whitefish Bay 2015. So I am carding this up on my drum carder, and I'm spinning this on one of my support spindles. So this is a support spindle from Bjorn Peck, a Swedish maker. I picked this up some years ago now. A wonderful spindle, and yeah, I'm just spinning it into a nice thin singles. And you know, in terms of spinning, I think I am more of a process spinner because I just enjoy the process of spinning, and I don't always have a goal in mind. So I sort of consequently kind of jump from, you know, project to project. But yeah, I couldn't believe that this mass of disorganized wool, after 2 passes, turns into this. So, but just to prove that, you know, wool doesn't have an expiration date, I thought I would make a few bats here. This is what I've been spinning on my support spindles. So what I'm doing is I'm just, like a picker would do, a swing picker, which is like a device that opens up the locks, I'm just using my hands to open up the locks, take out any, like there's a little piece of veg, take that out of there, and just open it up. If I see any short bits, I take them out, and then I make it nice and open, and then I just send it through my carder. And go nice and slow. And one of the most important things I've learned about carding is not to put too much fiber in at a time. Otherwise, it really gets jammed up and it's hard to turn. So you have to, take it nice and slow. Going. Sometimes you can do all this picking separately, and then take all your picked locks, maybe if they're in a basket or something, and then do your carding all at once. I like to do things in stages where I, card a little bit, spin a little bit, card a little bit, spin a little bit. Hence I have a lot of partially started spins. I also have this, which I love. This is a brush that came with my carder that also serves the same sort of purpose of packing in and doing a little bit of extra carding. Carding or basically smoothing. It's like brushing your hair. So get a few more locks here. I don't like to make my bats too big. I find that if I make them a little bit smaller, I can get probably 50 grams comfortably on this carder. I could probably get more, but I'm okay with smaller bats. So you could see here's the fleece. It's not felted, nice and strong, and very, very soft. So yeah, you don't have to do anything too fancy. Just pick it apart with your hands and feed it in. So yeah, so you feed it in here, and you want to make sure it's nice and open, almost transparent. So yeah, fiber does not have an expiration date, not unless it gets damaged from moths or mold or something. Knock on wood. I've had pretty good luck with fleeces that have been in my stash for quite a while. See, so the advantage to having the drum carder bolted down is it frees this hand up, so I don't have to hold it down. So it doesn't move anywhere. All right, I'm ready to take off the first pass. So I have this doffing tool. It's basically a pointy metal stick. It's got a nice handle on it. And then what you do is you find your seam right here. And I usually start at the far end, and I just take it off a little bit at a time. I use some leverage there. I try to get it all from the seam here. All right. Usually a little bit comes off there. And then I'm going to, oops, I got some yellow fiber in there. I'm going to take it off. I just go like this. Sometimes I'll use this tool here to help release the bat a little bit better. Just roll it off here. I got some darker fiber from a previous bat. Pull that off. I'm going to run this through again, so I'm not too worried about some of the fiber being left on the drum. And that's what it looks like after the first pass. So yeah, so what I do now is I just pull it off in strips like this, and I open it up and I feed it through again, which is what I'm going to do now. As you can see, this is not a really fast process. I mean, when I put this into my video, I'm going to have to edit out a lot, fast forward, increase the speed. So making a bat, might take 30 minutes just to make one 50-gram bat like this from scratch. But it's a lot of fun seeing the fiber go from kind of this disorganized locks into a fairly uniform bat. So if I was going to make a blend, let's say I wanted to mix in some sari silk into this, I would then introduce those fibers now during the second pass. So if I was going to do a alpaca blend, for example, I might sandwich the alpaca in between 2 layers of wool and card, which is what I've done for my sock blends. Less is more when it comes to carding. So I'm just pulling off little bits of the bat and sending it through. You can also what I'm aiming for is a real thin, almost paper, transparent layer to send through. So you can sort of see the bottom of the where you put the fiber in. I don't know what this is called here. Sometimes I put too much in and then I regret it because I have to use like 2 hands to rotate, and I don't think that's good for the drum, for the carder. I have a little bit of a sore shoulder because I was knitting on my Mabel cardigan hours and hours a day because I really want to have a finished object to show you guys. And something with the pattern and excessive knitting, I actually hurt my shoulder a little bit. So, yeah. So take care of your bodies. Don't do things that are going to make you regret, because this is supposed to be an enjoyable process. It's not supposed to do, you're not supposed to do yourself an injury knitting. Let me show you this up close now. So here is the fiber after a second pass. What I will do when I go to spin this is I'll just pull off a strip here. I'll just pull off a strip, and I might, pre-draft it a little bit. maybe like this, and then, put it into a little nest, so they have, more manageable. Like I'll do 2 of them, and I'll be like Princess Leia. And here we go. So I've got all these balls. It really smells good. So I wonder how much this weighs. You want to weigh it? Let's see. Let's see how much this weighs. A handy scale here. Put my bowl on my scale. Zero it out. Going to measure it in grams. 46 grams. So yeah, totally could have done just a little bit more fiber and easily gotten a 50-gram bat on this. And you could pack way more if you wanted to, but 50 grams is about what I'm comfortable with. One of these? So yeah, quite soft and lovely. So I've been working on that. And that's about all the fibery things I've been working on. I spent some time here in my basement trying to organize, and kind of overwhelmed a little bit by all my projects and all my stuff, but I'm working on that. So from my bookshelf this week, I'm reading. I have two books from my bookshelf that I wanted to talk about this week briefly, and one of them is this book by Julia Cameron. And Julia Cameron is a very prolific writer. One of her most famous books is The Artist's Way, which I actually have, but I haven't read yet. But I picked this up first at my library, and it's called It's Never Too Late to Begin Again, Discovering Creativity and Meaning at Midlife and Beyond. And it's a 12-week sort of program. She calls it creative recovery. And it's a really, really excellent book. And I was going to put it out there. I don't know if you're in a similar situation, recently retired, or if you're, I'm lucky enough to be able to be retired. But if you're maybe an empty nester, or approaching retirement, or in retirement, semi-retirement, I was wondering if you'd be interested in doing a little mini book study. So I was thinking of starting a thread on Ravelry. I read the introduction and the first chapter, and she has 4 basic tenets of the program. The first one is morning pages. If you read her The Artist's Way, she talks about morning pages, which are just 3 pages of stream of consciousness writing that you do upon awakening. And then she has 3 other things: walking, artist date, which is like taking yourself out to explore something you're interested in, and then memoir. It's a lot. I mean, I'm only into it just as a little bit, but it's a wonderful, wonderful book, and I'm already getting a lot from this. If you're interested, I will leave a link down below to the book. I picked mine up from thrift books, and it was very inexpensive. And I'd love to have, if it's one other person, or, a small group that might be interested in doing a little book study with me. I think that would be really, really fun, just to read through the book and just share our experiences with the process. You can reach me through Ravelry. I'm the Soulful Spinner on Ravelry and on Instagram. And you can also email me at soulfulspinning@gmail.com. And all my contact information is always in the description, as well as any patterns I talk about. So, and then the other book I've been enjoying last couple of weeks is this Richard Osman series. It's the Thursday Murder Club series. I've completed books 1 and 2, and I'm on book 3, and it's getting better and better. I think this is my favorite so far. And I guess they are doing, I think they're doing a movie, and I think Helen Mirren is going to play Elizabeth Best. And I think Pierce Brosnan, I think he's going to play Ron. So if you've read the book, I don't know what you think of that, but this is my evening read, and it is kind of a laugh out loud story, and it's a lot of fun. So if there are some books that you're enjoying, we would love to hear what books you're enjoying. You just go to Ravelry, you can join the group, and there's a thread, a books thread, and I'm compiling a list because I've gotten some great suggestions from a lot of viewers. So. Yeah, so I think that's all I have for you today, folks. I will most likely be back here in a couple of weeks. I'm putting it in my intentions to do this every 2 weeks, and we'll take it from there. So I appreciate all the time that you spend with me and all of your positive comments, and I love to interact with you. And please do stay in touch, and we'll talk to you very soon. Take care. My peonies over there are pretty much spent now. And then we've got a corner garden that is the hangout for our resident rabbit family, which they're kind of a nuisance, but they are so cute. And they give my Peaches a run for her money. So yeah, things are looking pretty good here. We've got some radishes growing. We've got some carrots growing. We've got some herbs, some basil. And we got some volunteer fennel here. It smells so good. And then just the other day, we picked out these two pots, two blue pots, and we have our geraniums. So we got a fair amount of rain last night. It's Sunday morning. I thought I would give you just a little tour of what we've got going on in the garden. So I've got 2 beds of marigolds. And we're doing some blueberries in pots this year. We're doing a lot of container gardening this year, as well as our beds. Here's our duplantias. And then we just got some roses here the last couple of days. We grew our tomatoes from seed this year. We planted seeds late winter, early spring, and they're doing quite well. It's got some more marigolds.